Good morning, virtual villagers, and welcome to this session from me, Kate, from What Kate Made. Um, Today's session is about applique, a simple, easy way to do applique. If you're not sure what applique is, it's cutting shapes out of fabric and sewing them onto a background. So, what we're going to do today is quite a simple way to do it. We're going to use a sticky don't know what you call it. It's like a backing, really. You know the stuff you can use Wonderweb to shorten trousers and put hems up. It's similar to that. I've got two different sorts here that I'm going to show you, and I'm only going to use the one because I have very little left of the other one. If you bear with me just a second, I am going to get you up live so I can see your comments. Just bear with me. Right. My tablet's upside down. There we go. Now I can see your comments. Hi, Irene. Glad you're here right at the beginning. So, Bondaweb. This one is Bondaweb is a proprietary name, and this is Bondaweb, and it's like a very thin film of glue with a paper backing. So what you do is you iron the one side of your fabric, cut out your shape, you peel off the backing, and then you iron the backing onto your base fabric. So you can, it's a way of gluing shapes to fabric. However, although it is very good, I wouldn't leave it just glued on. I would sew around it, which is the applique part, because applique is the art of sewing fabric shapes to a backing fabric to create a design. So I only have this much of this one. This is traditional Bondaweb, so I'm not going to use that. What the other thing I have got is this one. Now this looks like it's more plasticky. It's got film on one, it's got your glue on one side, and it's got the backing sheet on the other, but the backing sheet is plastic. It's much more difficult to draw on. So what I'm going to do today, because this is what I've got the most of, I'm going to iron this onto the fabric, and then rather than draw on the backing and then cut the shape out, I'm actually going to draw onto the fabric using one of these heat erasable gel pens, so that when I do iron it, then iron it on the backing fabric, it will disappear. The mark will disappear. Now, I said about sewing your shapes on. So if you have a sewing machine, you can sew them on with the sewing machine. It's best if you have a free motion foot, but not strictly necessary. So if you haven't done any free motion embroidery, then you can just follow straight lines. You just have to be a bit more careful. It's not too bad with what we're doing today because they are all straight lines. But if you're doing something that's curved, you need to be more careful with your machine. The other way you can do it is by hand embroidering, which is what I'm going to show you today because it's easier to show you than whip backwards and forwards to my machine. However, the bit I prepared yesterday has been machine embroidered, so you can see both. Now there's a template provided of the shapes for all of these, the house shapes and the trees and the landscape. So the bit I've done so far, because I thought I'd better do some, this is my first house. Actually, I think this is the second house on the sheet, house number 2. And I've done a hill and a tree as well. So you can see, I don't know whether you can see if I can get close enough, that this has been sewn on by machine. Can you see the very faint lines? If I show you the back, you'll be able to see better. Those are my machine sewing lines. I've used a nice pink thread, like a cyclamen pink, that contrasts with the fabrics I've used as well. So that one's been machine sewed on. If you don't want your lines to show, but you don't want to change the thread every time, quilters recommend a neutral colour like a pale grey or a pale beige. That tends to blend with everything. So you could use something like that, but I quite like the contrast. So as you can see, I've got quite a long piece of backing fabric. So on this side that I haven't done anything on, that's the bit we're going to use today. So I'm going to do the second of the houses today, which is the one that you've seen is face on, this one is side on. So I've got all my bits. For the template, I've printed it out on card, and I've cut it out. I like mine in card because you could, if you're just going to do it once, just use paper and pin it on like a pattern. But I like the card because I reuse them quite a bit. So that's the roof. And all the other pieces, I've already done them because I thought it'd be quicker. So I've already cut out my fabric on this for the rest of the house. So what else do we need? I've told you about the gel pens. I have a couple of marker pens and a pencil. I have 3 lots of scissors. I have my little pointy ones for close work. I've got my paper glue scissors for cutting the backing, and I've got my fabric scissors. That's just for cutting the fabric. What else have I got? Oh, my fabrics. So the house I've done is done sort of pinks and floweries. So I thought I'd do the second house different. So what I've chosen is these 3 fabrics, which are grey tones. So there's a spotty one. Don't know whether you can see that in this light. A sort of random pattern in a deep grey. That's just going to be doors and chimneys, and the roof in this dark fabric, or possibly the other way around. No, I've already cut the grey spot, so this is the one I'm going to use for the roof. I've also got 3 colours of embroidery thread. So I've got a black, a dark grey, and a light grey. Needles, scissors, obviously. What else have I got? Oh, an iron. You need an iron. And I've got a towel to iron onto. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how I iron on the backing and draw it on and cut it out. I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to assemble the whole house for you, and then show you a little bit of embroidery. So first things first, I need to put my iron on. And second things, I need to put the camera down. So just bear with me a minute. Oops, went a bit wobbly then. I've got my different tripod again, so I'm a little bit. You can see all my work surface there. Let's make sure it's tight so it doesn't wiggle about. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is sort out the fabric. Now, because I don't want to waste any fabric, because I'm very frugal like that, I'm going to just roughly cut a piece that's big enough for the template. So you can see here, that's my roof template, and I'm just going to cut a piece like that. Put that fabric away. I'm going to cut this selvage off because we don't want that on it. Can you see the selvage? And yes, I think it has. And I want a piece of my Bondaweb, although this isn't Bondaweb, but that's roughly the right size for the roof to fit on. So what I'm going to do is cut that to fit my, oh, perfect. That was a bit of good guesswork. And now I'm going to go to the iron. So I've got this doubled up towel on my table. I'm going to just, first of all, iron the fabric. Then this is really, really important. You need to make sure you put your Bondaweb the right side down. Now with the paper one, it's easy to tell because the backing's paper. With this one, it's not. And I found the best way is to scratch it with your finger, and if it moves, it's the glue, and if it doesn't, it's the plastic. So you want to put it wrong side of your fabric, glue side down, and then now you need to dry iron for this, so don't put any water in your iron. You just run the iron over it, and you can see already it's starting to bubble up where the glue is. And you just keep ironing until you've covered it all 2 or 3 times, and that's it. Now it's glued. It's very hot, and because of the gel pens are heat erasable, we do have to wait for this to cool. Now the other thing you can do if you don't have a gel pen is mark it. It's harder, you won't draw on it with the pencil, but you can sort of score because it's got like a waxy finish. and this is a nice easy shape to draw. It's moving about a little bit because it's slippery, but I'm just going to score, and then I can see where I'm going to cut, and you cut nice even straight lines then. So we cut out our shape. Now, although my it wobbled, because this pattern on this oh, words have gone today, on this fabric it's got quite a regular shape to it, so I can follow the lines. So even though my lines wobbled there, I can get a nice straight line on my roof shape. And then the last bit of the shape is this triangle where the eaves are. Not quite cut through it. So the other thing that the gluey Bondaweb does is stop it fraying. So you don't have to worry about fraying edges, although sometimes fraying edges can be quite attractive. I'll just say a few more good mornings. I've got Kat Mason. Hi, Kat. Katie. Hi, Katie. Another Katie. Hope you're enjoying this session. Keep commenting, asking questions. If anything I say is not clear, you can ask a question and I'll try and answer you. I might not answer it straight away, but I will try. So that's our roof. We are a little bit of a funny angle, so that's where my tripod's placed. So that's my roof. And my other it's my other envelope, here we go. My other pieces that I already cut out are in here, so they're ready. So in this one there is the gable end and the main bit of the roof of the house. So if I assemble it on here, you can see what it is, how it's going to look when it goes together. So the roof goes on last because you want it to slightly overlap. So that's my house pieces in that nice spotty fabric. I've also got a door and a chimney, and I've cut both of those out in this grey fabric, and then I'm going to embroider with contrasting threads, just a running stitch. You can use a blanket stitch, that's quite nice around the edges, but to keep it simple I'm just going to do a running stitch. So that's our pieces of house. I'll pop all these back in the envelope because I can use them again. You might be asking what I'm going to use it for when it's done, and the answer is I don't really know. I had thought about putting it on an apron, but I'm still not entirely sure. Now I chose for my backing fabric, this is like a muslin calico maybe. It's quite thin, and I probably cut it a bit narrow. I hemmed at the bottom so I could get a nice straight edge to put my design on, but I've gone right to the top there, so I won't be able to put a hem on the top. So what I might do is then bind both edges with some bias binding, because that will hide that ragged edge there. But I still don't know what I'm going to do with it. It's probably too wide for a table runner, and it's probably too wide for a bag, unless I did it in half and attached it to a bag. I'll probably fill up this area here, but for now we'll get on with constructing our second house. Now you can see I've got some landscape on this. That's also on the template, and I've already cut those out as well, so I'll show you what I've got here. So there's that sort of elliptical shape with a flat bottom, so that's your hills like that. There's another one there that's got more of a and maybe overlap that, because that one's got a bit, I might trim it a little bit to make it a little bit more rounded, so it's not quite a straight edge there. So we can do that and sort of create hills. I've also got that's the small tree, but there's also a bigger tree as well, which I'm going to use. So I might put that there because that goes quite near the edge, and the tree will also need a trunk, so I'm just using brown felt for the trunk. I've just made this piece quite big, and then I can just trim it to shape. So I think this tree will just have a little short trunk. So that's my tree. Now my house, I'm just wondering if it'll fit on this with the landscape, but I don't think the landscape's going to be too big, so I'm just going to put that to one side for a minute. We'll do the house first. So I want to leave a little bit of space between that house and this house. So that's the roof, but as I said before, we need to start with the actual building. So that's my first piece. I'm just going to try it out first. That's my second piece. No, other end. Because the roof's got, and the roof will sit over it, so it covers the edges and overlaps slightly. So that's, you want it so that that corner of the roof is touching, but it overlaps a little bit on each side. And then the chimney goes there, and the door goes, I think it goes on there, that end. You could also cut some windows if you wanted to. I don't know whether I've got any more of that grey fabric with backing already on it. I have got some of the green left, but I don't think I've got that grey. Oh, wait a minute, what's that? Oh, that's black. Sometimes I keep little bits, you know, little bits like the cutouts from the roof. I'll keep those because I might make something else with them. So we've got our landscape there, and we've got our house pieces there. So this is the fun bit. I always think we're going to assemble it now with the iron. So you just take your piece, flick away at that backing and pull it off, and you can see it's left your glue behind. Place it where you want it to be. I might put the tree in between these two houses, put that there, and then take your iron, let's move that one, and again just press it. And it is glued on. You can see I can't flick it up. So we do that with all the different pieces. See how quick and easy it is. We've been on air for a quarter of an hour. Actually, that's got a little bit of a edge on there. Just not too perfect, but you don't want too much fraying. So as I was saying, we've been on there for a quarter of an hour, and we've virtually built a house. It helps that I cut all the bits out before. If you're having to sit and watch me just cut bits out, it would be quite boring. I think I'll go with the roof next. I was just debating then whether to put the door on first, but I'll do the roof first. This basically, this one acts a bit like double-sided tape in that. So I want my roof to overlap a little bit at each side. So it's like double-sided tape when you peel the backing off it, but it's already glued to your fabric. So that's the main bit of our house on. Now, when I was saying to you before about being careful about which side you put down, when I was practicing earlier on, I managed to get glue all over my iron. Now, if you want a tip about ungluing an iron, or even just cleaning off general marks, paracetamol tablet. You just get the solid tablet, heat the iron, rub the tablet over it, do it very carefully. I use a pair of tweezers when I'm doing it, and then wipe it with a wet cloth, and it brings all the marks off. Don't ask me why, it's science, but it is amazing for cleaning irons. And I'm always doing this is just my crafty iron. It gets covered in all sorts of things because I'm quite often doing things like this and getting glue all over it. So nearly done. See how easy it is? I know Applique always kind of like people go, oh, it looks hard. But this is an easy way to do Applique. Now, where will the chimney go? There, I think. If you don't have any Bondaweb, you could do this with glue. You could get fabric glue. You could use hot glue, but hot glue leaves bumps. But fabric glue, the only thing with fabric glue is it'll take time to dry, sorry. Right, so I think I might put my tree in between. Now with the tree, I don't know whether you can see that, there are blue lines on it. That's the pen I used to draw it. But you will see in a minute that it will disappear. Now I'm going to put the trunk on first, because what I don't want to do is put my tree too far away at the trunk. I'm lining everything up with the seam that I put for the hem. So I'm going to put the trunk on first, then I'm going to lay the tree over it so that my tree and my trunk meet. So I can overlap the trunk a little bit. Now watch, I don't know whether you can see the blue lines from there, but I'll show you closer up in a minute. They'll have disappeared. There we go. So let me bring it closer to you. Now you can see the blue lines have gone off my tree and all my other lines have gone. So everything is stuck on. You could leave it like that. If it was to be a picture or something that isn't going to get washed, you can leave it like that. But because this is likely to go on something that's going to get washed, and it gives you a nicer finish, a nicer, more traditional applique finish, I'm going to sew over it. I'm not going to sew it with machine, I'm going to sew by hand. I'm just getting rid of my rubbish. Where's my big gone? Put all my templates back in their regular bits. Also my trunk felt, I'm keeping that in there. Those two I don't think I'm going to use, so I'll put them away. So that's all my templates. Put to one side. I like to be tidy. My husband would deny that, but I do. So onto the sewing. Don't need my big scissors. I'm just going to use my small scissors. I've already threaded up the 3 colours I'm using because it is hard work to watch me sew. And I know we're at a bit of an angle, so I'll try and sew it so you can see properly. I'm a bit constrained for space with having to have so many things out today. So first of all, I'm going to go with contrasting colours. So for this paler grey, I'm using this darker grey thread. What I've done is I've cut off a length and then I've split it because embroidery floss is quite thick, and generally speaking, most embroiderers will split it into 2 or 3 strands. This is 3 strands. You just put a knot in it, so that's going to be at the back. That'll stop it coming through. And I'm only going to do a simple gather stitch. Now you'll have seen me do gather and stitch before. It's a bit awkward to hold because it's very stiff, but I'm just going to start. You may find your needle gets a bit gluey as well, so I'm going to try and angle it so you can see. And I'm going to go a nice even running stitch. It is a little bit more difficult to sew through when you've got Bondaweb on the back, but now we're not trying to make it look like machine threading. We're not doing, back stitching or anything. We're just doing something that'll be dual purpose. It will hold the fabrics together, but it'll also look very decorative. And I'm not going to do the whole thing. Now, when you come to the roof, it's up to you whether you go through that bit, because we are going to do the roof bit as well, so in a different colour. So you might want to just leave that. Now, So I'm just going to go up that side like that, and then I'm going to fasten it off at the back. And what I usually do to fasten it off is go under one of the stitches and just pull it like that, get a knot, and then cut it off. I'm not going to do the whole house because we might not have time, and I want to show you the other bits. So can you see? I'll just do a little bit more. I'll go along the bottom a little bit. I don't know whether any of you have done this before, Applique. If you have, let me know. I'd be interested to know what your experiences have been. I'm going to start at this end because this is probably where I should have started in the first place to get a continuous run. And again, I'm about, I don't know, 2 or 3 millimeters in from the edge. Let's take that thread off, that's going to confuse things. And I'm doing stitches that are maybe 2 or 3 millimeters long. Very simple running stitch. Now, this technique is something that older children would probably really enjoy, because I say older just because of the use of the iron, and it produces really nice results. And then we're going to go back along the bottom, a sort of simple folk art almost finish to it. Now, if you're a good embroiderer, you can go to town on this. You can do all sorts of different stitches. I'm not, I do like embroidery, but today I'm just going to go with a simple running stitch because it's what we've got. So if you are an embroiderer, you could embroider flowers on it, and you know, in fact I might do that before I finished it. So if you want to, we won't finish it today, but if you want to look at the finished product when I've decided what to do with it, go along to my Facebook page, What Kate Made, Kate's Design and Craft. It's usually a link in the introduction to this post. Have a look at, and I'll try and post some pictures there. I never have any success of posting pictures in the comments on these posts, but you can always go and have a look at my page. There's lots of other things on there as well. I also have a blog on my website, What Kate Made. Again, there's I think there's a link in the introduction to this session. Right, so I think I'm going to call that a day. You can see I've gone all the way around the edge of the house, and maybe we'll just go up there because that's actually where the house turns a corner nearly, isn't it? And it'll just define that a little bit better. That's where our two pieces of fabric have joined together, and it'll probably detract a little bit from the join, though it's not really obvious. It's quite hard sewing through two thicknesses. So, and then again, I'm going to fasten it off at the back. Cut the end. Don't cut great big long ends when you're using a darker coloured thread because it can show through the fabric, especially this is a very fine fabric. So now I think I'm going to use black on the door. Here's my black thread. Again, I'm going to knot it. And I'm going to put a little bit more feature on the door. I am going to running stitch round it, but I want to put some little features in, like a doorknob and things like that. So I'm just going to pull this up from the bottom and do my running stitch. Oh, this needle's not sharp. I've had to invest in needles with big eyes, and I'm actually going through 2 layers of glue there as well, so it's a little bit harder. Probably better if I do it. Not try to do too many stitches at a time and just come up and down. If you watch this back on catch up, drop me a message as well, just to let me know you're there. I'm not going to go all the way to the top with this because you can see, you know, what it's going to look like. I want to say, I meant all the way around. I'm going to try and put some of my other features on as well. So I'll leave that there. I can carry this along the back. So I said I wanted to do a doorknob. So I'm going to put the doorknob there and I'm going to do a French knot. I'm going to attempt to do a French knot for the doorknob. Now, a French knot is, you need to go into your fabric and then up again with the point, but not right through. Don't pull the needle right through. Leave the needle. God, it's hard. Sticking through like that. Then you take this end of your thread, not the one that's through the needle, but the other end, and you wrap it several times around your needle like this. The more times you wrap it, the bigger knot you'll get. And then you pull the needle out, and what it does is bunches up all those wrappings, so they wrap around your thread, and then you push your needle back through to finish it off and hold it secure so it won't unravel. So that's French knot. So that makes a nice doorknob. I might also just put a window panel in, but I'll do that later. So then I can finish off my round the door bit. Now this is quite a nice summery scene for my village, but I was thinking the other night how nice, well, it was when I was looking in my stash of fabrics, I came across all my Christmassy fat quarters and I thought, oh, wouldn't it be nice to do a Christmas village? Maybe for a table runner for Christmas. So you can use the same templates and just add some fluffy snow bits, maybe using a fur fabric or velvet or something nice, and to make snow, and use snow here instead of the green, and snow around the roofs and icicles. You could embroider icicles, so that would be nice. So if you keep your eyes peeled on my page come Christmas, you might see that. So I'm just going to finish the door, and then I'm going to do a little bit on the roof. So I would do the chimney in the same contrast. You could embroider, use backstitch and embroider like brick shapes on your chimney if you wanted. Now I've used lots of different fabrics. They're not what you would authentically see houses built out of. If you wanted to do something more kind of housey, you could use like a brick red fabric and a slate grey fabric. A little knot there. But I quite like this. So that's me back to the bottom. I'm just going to fasten that black off, and we'll do a little bit of the roof as well. This has gone a bit blunt, too much cutting paper with them. So my final colour is this pale grey, very silvery grey, and I'm going to do that on the black roof. When I said the Bondaweb would stop the fraying, this black fabric is quite frayy. Doesn't matter. Where's my lighter coloured one? That's my lighter coloured grey. And again, it's just going to be the same. You're just going to backstitch around it. So I'll just go along this roof line for you. Come up there. This is a sharper needle. It's working a lot better. And then just make 2 or 3 millimeters from the edge with stitches about 2 or 3 millimeters long. Just do your running stitch. Oh, stab myself. Because this has got the little white dots on it, this fabric as well, it's nice to get a light coloured edging. It's very stiff coming through this glue. Right, I'll not go all the way along, but I've done enough now so you can see. So what do you think? I quite like that. You could put a window on there, as I said. You just need to cut a piece of fabric to match. I'll go through again there and then just fasten that off so that I can move it around without losing my needle. Now, when we talked before about what we're going to use this for, when you get the Bondaweb and the glue on, it does make it quite stiff, so it wouldn't do for clothing. You could applique onto clothing if you were just doing a little piece of maybe like a flower or a bird or something that you just wanted to put on a t-shirt. Talking of birds, I was just going to see how we're doing for time. We're okay. I'm just going to show you something that you can do, because today, or yesterday rather, I was making swallows for a display, and I thought, oh, we could just maybe do some swallows in the sky. So I'm just gonna take my pink pen, and in here where there's around the house, I'm just going to draw some swallow shapes. So to me, a swallow shape is like a body with a tail and then pointy wings. It looks a little bit like a torpedo, and then I can embroider that in. So I'm going to start at the top there, and I'm going to backstitch. So backstitch is, you start with like a little running stitch, and then but instead of leaving a gap, you go back on yourself, go back down where that one came out, and then up, and then you keep filling in the gap. And what I'm going to do is just outline the body. Can you hear my dog barking? He's decided, he's not a young dog, he's 12, that he can't come upstairs on his own or go downstairs on his own. And he doesn't want to be carried, but he wants to be accompanied. So I have to go downstairs and come upstairs with him. And I've shut him downstairs today because I thought I'm not having him barking in the room to go downstairs while we're on air. So I've done the back stitch outline. What I'm going to do now is fill it in with a little bit of satin stitch. Now, satin stitch, you come up, when you've done your back stitch outline, we're going to do over and over and over, but we're going to do it, put our needle through outside the line, and we're going to go so we leave no gaps. So you see either side of your back stitch line, but you're getting as close as you can to your thread there, and then you pull, and then you repeat. I can't do it holding it up in the air, but I'll do it and then show you. Following that line. So the threads overlap each other and create a solid shape. It's actually looking a bit like a spider. Not so we've now got a solid shape for the body. What I am going to do is go back to the head and just put a tiny little stitch to make it look like a beak. And then for the wings, I'm going to do a V stitch, a V shape. So I'm going to go to there, make a nice long wing, and then come up a little way further down on the body and make like a very long elongated arrow shape. And then the same on the other side. I'll show you in a sec. And then it's the tail after that. So there's my wings. Can you see? So it will, you can fill them in as well if you want with stocking stitch. Sorry, satin stitch. So I'm going to just do the tail now. And again, I'm going to do these V's but I'm going to do it with the stitches closer together, the two long stitches, because the tail is more that kind of shape. I'm not going to go all the way to the top. I'm going to go about 2/3 of the way up my first stitch to give that sort of classic swallowtail. I'm not sure it looks like a swallow, but I'll show you in a sec. So what do you think? Is it like a swallow? A little bit like a swallow. So you can add little touches of embroidery like that to your picture if you want to. Flowers, leaves, birds. Although the other kind of bird you can do is just a simple sort of V shape that are like birds in the distance. So maybe above our tree here, we can just do that simple V shape. Oops, my needle's come on threaded. Bear with me a second. I know that's not very hygienic, but I always find I can't. So when I say a simple V shape, I mean this sort of thing. Like that. So it looks a bit like a bird. That off. Right, I think that is as far as I'm going to go today. But I will finish off by hand embroidering the rest of this house and my tree. I'm going to go around my trees in dark green because they don't stand out very well. They're quite pale fabric. And I'm going to add a few little extra details, maybe some flowers and little bits, maybe another bird. I'm not keen on that one I've done. I might take that out. But that is our again. So what did you think? Easier than you thought? I think it's easier than it looks. Complicated. It's easier to do than it looks. Again, got a nice long piece of. You don't have to do it like this. You could just do a house this shape. If you extended the length here and made it about another 1.5 inches longer, that would make a lovely beach hut, and you could do a row of beach huts, or you could just do one beach hut. And you can use the landscape shapes if you cut them out of blue, particularly this small one here. They'd look like waves. I'm very pleased with that, and that's us done. So enjoy the rest of your day. We've got a lovely sunny day here today, in complete contrast to forever. So I'm going to go outside and do a bit of gardening this afternoon. So whatever you decide to do, have a nice day, and I'll catch up with you at the beginning of August. During August, we're going to do some crafts for kids as it's the school holidays. So this is Kate saying goodbye and see you later.